Captain Susan Miller looked out the large window of the USS Intrepid. The stars seemed different today. Something was coming. She felt it in her bones after 20 years in space. "Captain, we have a problem," said Alan Wright. He ran to her side, out of breath. His eyes were wide with fear. Susan turned to face her communications officer. "What is it, Alan?" "A ship just appeared near Jupiter. It's huge." Susan rushed to the main screen. The image made her heart skip. A massive black ship hung in space. It was at least 10 times bigger than the Intrepid. Its dark hull seemed to eat the light around it. "Send a message. Tell them we come. In peace," Susan ordered. Alan typed quickly. His fingers shook. "Message sent, Captain." The bridge crew waited. No one spoke. The only sound was the soft beep of the ship's computers. After 5 long minutes, the screen lit up. A strange face appeared. It had 6 eyes that glowed orange. Hard plates covered its head. 2 large mandibles clicked near what seemed to be a mouth. "Humans." The alien's voice was deep and rough. "I am Commander Vraxthar of the Krazoth Empire. We have heard of your kind." Susan stepped forward. She kept her face calm, even though her heart raced. "I am Captain Susan Miller of Earth. We welcome peaceful contact." The alien's mandibles clicked faster. "Peace? Your species has a reputation. The Galactic Council speaks of humans with fear. We have come to see if the stories are true." Susan looked at her science officer, Kate Nelson. Kate shrugged. Earth had never made contact with any Galactic Council. "We assure you, Commander, we seek friendship with all life forms," Susan said. Vraxthar made a sound like rocks grinding together. The crew later learned this was laughter. "Perhaps. But we must see for ourselves. I invite you and 3 crew members to board our ship for talks. Now." The screen went black before Susan could answer. "Captain, this could be a trap," said Joe Martinez, the security chief. His hand rested on his gun. Susan nodded. "It could be, but it's also our first chance to meet an advanced alien race. We can't pass that up." "Who will go?" Kate asked. Susan thought for a moment. "Me, you, Alan, and Joe. We need communication, science, and security. Dr. Peters will be in charge while we're gone." An hour later, the 4 humans sat in a small shuttle heading toward the alien ship. Up close, the vessel was even more impressive. Strange marks covered its hull. They looked like writing or maybe art. "It must be a mile long," whispered Kate. She took pictures with her tablet. "Their technology is far beyond ours." The shuttle entered a large opening in the side of the alien ship. It landed softly in a vast hangar. Other alien ships sat nearby. They were smaller but just as black. "Remember," Susan said as they put on their breathing masks, "be polite, stay calm, and watch each other's backs." They stepped out of the shuttle. The air was breathable according to their sensors, but protocol required masks for first contact. 10 tall aliens waited for them. All wore what looked like armor. Each carried something that might be a weapon. Vraxthar stepped forward. He was taller than the others. A red mark decorated his headplate. "Welcome aboard the Deathbringer," he said through a device on his chest. "Follow me." The humans walked behind the aliens through long, dark hallways. The walls were warm to the touch. Sometimes they seemed to pulse like they were alive. They entered a large room with a round table. The aliens took seats on one side. The humans sat on the other. "Your species is young," Vraxthar said, "yet stories of your ferocity have spread across 3 galaxies." Susan blinked in surprise. "Ferocity? There must be some mistake. We've barely left our solar system." "Do not play innocent. We know about your war beasts, the creatures you have bred to fight and kill for you. The Council says you have made these beasts love you, which makes them even more dangerous." The humans looked at each other in confusion. "War beasts?" Alan asked. Kate's eyes suddenly widened. "Dogs? Are you talking about dogs?" Vraxthar leaned forward. All 6 eyes focused on Kate. "Yes. These dogs, as you call them. We have heard. They can tear through armor, sense fear, and will die to protect you. Is this true? Joe almost laughed but caught himself. Susan shot him a warning look. Dogs are companions to humans, Susan explained carefully. They have been with us for thousands of years. And you use them in battle? Vraxthar asked. Not in modern times, Susan said. Though they do help our police and rescue teams. The aliens whispered among themselves. Their mandibles clicked rapidly. We must see one of these creatures, Vraxthar finally said. Bring your most powerful war dog to our next meeting. Susan knew she had to think fast. The only dog on the Intrepid was Buddy, Dr. Greg Peters' therapy golden retriever. That might be possible, she said slowly. But first we would like to learn more about your people. For the next 2 hours they shared basic information. The Krazoth came from a planet with high gravity and little water. They had conquered hundreds of worlds. They respected strength above all else. When the meeting ended, Vraxthar walked them back to their shuttle. Tomorrow, he said, you will return. You will bring your beast. If the stories are true and you can control such creatures, perhaps humans deserve respect. On the ride back to the Intrepid, Joe finally let out the laugh he had been holding. They're afraid of dogs? Wait until they meet Buddy. That dog would lick an intruder to death. Susan didn't laugh. This is serious. They came expecting fierce warriors with monster pets. What happens when they see the truth? Kate looked thoughtful. Maybe this misunderstanding could help us. They clearly respect power. If they think we've tamed dangerous animals, they might respect us more. Susan nodded slowly. We need to talk to Dr. Peters. His dog is about to become Earth's ambassador. As they docked with the Intrepid, Susan looked back at the massive alien ship. First contact had gone better than it could have. No one had died. But tomorrow would be the real test. How would these battle-loving aliens react to a friendly golden retriever who loved belly rubs? She had a feeling things were about to get very interesting. Dr. Greg Peters stroked Buddy's golden fur. The dog leaned into his touch, brown eyes half closed with pleasure. They sat in Captain Susan's office while the senior crew argued around them. This is crazy, Greg said. Buddy is a therapy dog. He's trained to help people feel better, not to scare aliens. Susan paced the room. I know. But these Krazoth believe humans control dangerous war beasts. They came here expecting warriors. What happens when they see we're not what they thought? Joe leaned against the wall, arms crossed. They might decide we're weak, easy to conquer. Or, Kate added, they might be relieved. Not everyone wants war. Alan looked up from his tablet. I've been studying their messages. Their language has many words for battle but few for peace. I think Joe is right. They respect strength. Buddy yawned and flopped onto his side. His tail thumped against the floor. Look at him, Greg said. He's not exactly going to strike fear into anyone's heart. Susan stopped pacing. Maybe that's the point. If they think we've taken fierce animals and made them this gentle, they might be even more impressed. So what's the plan? Joe asked. Pretend Buddy is dangerous? Susan shook her head. No lies, we just let them draw their own conclusions. Greg, has Buddy had any special training? Greg nodded. Basic commands, plus therapy work. He can find people in distress. He can bring items to them, he can create space in crowds, and he's trained to remain calm in emergencies. Perfect, Susan said. Commander Vraxthar wants to see our war beast. We'll show him Buddy. We'll demonstrate his training. And we'll explain our relationship with dogs. Kate looked worried. What if they try to hurt him? I'll be there with 3 security officers, Joe said. And I think the captain should stay here. Susan frowned. Why? Because you're too important, Joe said. If something goes wrong, the ship needs its captain. After much debate, they made a plan. The next morning, Greg prepared Buddy for his big moment. He brushed the golden retriever until his coat shone. He put on Buddy's special vest that marked him as a working dog. You're about to make history, boy, Greg told him. First dog to meet aliens. Buddy licked his face. The team met in the shuttle bay. Greg with Buddy, Joe with 2 security officers, Kate and Alan. Susan stood nearby to see them off. "Remember," she said, "no lies, but no need to correct any wrong ideas they might have. Just show them how we work with Buddy." Greg nodded. He was nervous. His hands shook slightly as he held Buddy's leash. "He'll do great," Susan assured him. "Dogs have helped humans make friends for thousands of years. Why should aliens be any different?" The shuttle ride was tense. Buddy seemed to be the only relaxed one. He sat at Greg's feet, occasionally looking out the window at the stars. The Krazoth ship looked even more scary in the morning light of the distant sun. Its black surface seemed to shift like oil on water. They landed in the same hangar as before. This time, 20 Krazoth warriors waited for them. Each carried what looked like a spear that glowed blue at the tip. Vraxthar stood in front, all 6 of his eyes fixed on Buddy the moment the dog appeared at the shuttle door. "Is that the beast?" The alien commander sounded confused. Greg walked forward with Buddy at his side. The dog walked calmly, looking around with interest but staying close. "This is Buddy," Greg said. "He's a golden retriever, one of many dog breeds from Earth." The aliens stepped back. Their mandibles clicked rapidly. Some raised their weapons slightly. "It seemed small," Vraxthar said. "The stories speak of beasts that can tear through armor." Joe spoke up. "Different breeds have different skills. This one is not for fighting." "Then why bring it?" Vraxthar sounded angry. "To show you our most important type of dog," Kate explained. "The kind that helps us heal." Greg gave Buddy a hand signal. The dog sat perfectly still, looking up at the aliens with friendly eyes. "May we show you his training?" Greg asked. Vraxthar nodded, though he kept his distance. Greg took out a small object from his pocket. He let all the aliens see it, then he handed it to one of the warriors standing near the back of the group. "Buddy," Greg said clearly, "find the..." Dog's ears perked up. He stood and began walking among the aliens. They froze as he passed, as if afraid to move. Buddy sniffed the air, then headed straight to the warrior holding the object. He sat in front of the alien and barked once, softly. The warrior made a strange sound and dropped the object. Buddy picked it up gently in his mouth and brought it back to Greg. "Good boy," Greg said, giving Buddy a small treat. The dog wagged his tail. "Impressive," Vraxthar admitted. "It can track by scent?" "Yes," Kate said. "Dogs have helped humans hunt, find lost people, and detect dangers for thousands of years," Alan added. "They can find things we can't see or smell. Some can even sense when a person is about to have a medical problem." Vraxthar stepped closer, looking down at Buddy. "And it obeys without question? Without force?" "He chooses to work with us," Greg explained. "His ancestors made a deal with our ancestors long ago. Protection and food in exchange for help and companionship." "Show me more," Vraxthar demanded. For the next hour, Greg put Buddy through his training exercises. The dog followed every command perfectly. He found hidden objects. He created space by walking between people. He demonstrated how he would comfort someone in distress by putting his head on Kate's lap when she pretended to be sad. The aliens watched in silence. Their mandibles clicked less. Their weapons lowered. Finally, Vraxthar asked the question they had been waiting for. "May I touch it?" Greg nodded. "Hold out your hand, palm up, so he can sniff you first." The large alien commander slowly extended his hand. It had 4 fingers with thick, hard skin. Buddy sniffed it carefully, then licked it once. Vraxthar jerked back. "It attacked me with its tongue." No, Greg said quickly. "That's how dogs show friendship. It's a good sign." Slowly, Vraxthar reached out again. This time, when Buddy licked his hand, he didn't pull back. Then, very carefully, he placed his hand on Buddy's head. "The fur is soft," he said, sounding surprised. "Try scratching behind his ears," Greg suggested. "He likes that." The alien followed the instruction. Buddy leaned into the touch, his eyes closing with pleasure. His tail wagged faster. It enjoys this? He does, Greg confirmed. And this creates a bond between you? Yes. Touch is important for both dogs and humans. Vraxthar stood up straight again. He looked at his warriors, then back at the humans. We must discuss what we have seen. Return to your ship. We will call you tomorrow. On the shuttle ride home, everyone was quiet, thinking about what had happened. Only Buddy seemed relaxed, sleeping at Greg's feet. Did we do good? Alan finally asked. Joe nodded. I think so. They didn't try to kill us, which is a good start. Greg scratched Buddy's ears. What do you think, boy? Did you make some alien friends today? Buddy thumped his tail against the floor of the shuttle as if to say yes. Back on the Intrepid, Captain Susan waited for the team's report. When they told her about Vraxthar touching Buddy, she smiled. That's amazing progress, she said. Many humans are afraid of new things. These aliens are no different. But what happens next? Greg asked. He sat on the floor with Buddy, who was enjoying an after-mission treat. They said they'd call tomorrow. What do they want? Kate looked at her data pad. I've been studying what we know about the Krazoth. They come from a harsh world. Their society is based on strength and conquest. They don't seem to have pets or animal companions of any kind. So Buddy is something completely new to them, Alan said. Susan nodded. And that could be good or bad. Joe, double the security teams on all shifts, just in case. That night, Greg couldn't sleep. He sat in his room with Buddy at his feet. The dog sensed his worry and put his head on Greg's knee. What did we start, boy? Greg asked softly. I hope we didn't make things worse. Morning came. The crew waited for the call from the Krazoth ship. Hours passed with no word. Maybe they're discussing what they saw, Kate suggested. Joe frowned. Or planning an attack. Finally, near the end of the day shift, the communication system beeped. Vraxthar's face appeared on the main screen. His mandibles were moving slowly, which they had learned meant he was calm. Captain Susan Miller, he said. We have considered what we saw yesterday. Susan stood tall. And what have you decided, Commander? We wish to learn more. I will come to your ship with 5 of my officers. We want to see more of these dogs and how humans live with them. Susan looked surprised, but recovered quickly. We would be honored to host you, Commander. When would you like to visit? Now, Vraxthar said simply. The screen went black. The bridge crew jumped into action. Susan called Greg. They're coming here. Now. They want to see more about dogs and humans. Can you bring Buddy to the main meeting room? And do you have any videos of dogs on Earth? Greg's voice sounded worried. Yes to both. But Captain, are you sure this is safe? Having them on our ship? No, Susan admitted. But it's a chance we have to take. 30 minutes later, a Krazoth shuttle docked with the Intrepid. Vraxthar and 5 other aliens stepped out. They wore less armor than before, though each still carried a small weapon. Susan greeted them at the airlock. Welcome to the USS Intrepid, Commander. We're honored by your visit. Vraxthar's 6 eyes looked around quickly. Your ship is small, but bright. The aliens seemed uncomfortable in the well-lit hallways. Susan led them to the main meeting room. Greg waited inside with Buddy. The dog wagged his tail when he saw the aliens, remembering them from yesterday. Vraxthar made a sound that might have been a greeting. He pointed to a seat near Greg. May I? Greg nodded. The alien commander sat down next to him, just a few feet from Buddy. We have many questions, Vraxthar said. For the next 2 hours, the aliens asked about Earth, humans, and especially dogs. Greg showed videos of different dog breeds working with humans. Herding sheep, finding lost people, helping blind people walk safely, and playing with children. The aliens watched in silence. Sometimes they clicked their mandibles to each other, speaking in their own language. These creatures, Vraxthar finally said, they are all the same species but so different. Kate explained about breeding. Humans helped shape dogs over thousands of years, choosing the traits we needed for different jobs. You changed them to serve you better? One of the other aliens asked. He sounded impressed. We worked together, Greg corrected. Both species changed. Humans settled in one place partly because we had dogs to help protect our homes and food. Vraxthar was quiet for a moment. Then he asked, "May I try what was it called? The ear scratch?" Greg smiled. "Of course. Buddy, come." The dog walked over and sat in front of the alien. Vraxthar carefully reached out and scratched behind Buddy's ears. The dog leaned into the touch, eyes half closed. "The beast enjoys this," Vraxthar said, sounding amazed. "He does," Greg agreed. "Touch is important to dogs. And to humans too. We're social animals. We need connection to be happy." "Connection?" Vraxthar seemed confused by the word. Susan jumped in. "Friendship. Working together. Helping each other. Like our two species could do." The alien commander stopped petting Buddy. He looked at Susan with all 6 eyes. "You suggest an alliance? Between humans and Krazoth? Why not? We both have things to offer. We both want to explore space safely." Before Vraxthar could answer, alarms began to sound throughout the ship. Red lights flashed. Joe's voice came over the speakers. "Captain to the bridge. Unknown ships approaching fast." Susan stood quickly. "Please excuse me, Commander. You're welcome to stay here where it's safe." Vraxthar also stood. "No. We will come with you. If there is danger, we should face it together." The group hurried to the bridge. On the main screen, 3 ships could be seen moving toward both the Intrepid and the Krazoth vessel. They were green and shaped like pointed spears. "Morgler ships," Vraxthar said, his voice hard. "Our enemies for many cycles. They're charging weapons," Joe reported. The communication system beeped. A new alien face appeared on the screen. This one had green skin and 4 eyes and a line across its face. "Krazoth fools," the alien said. "Did you think we wouldn't notice? Your ship here, and now you make friends with these weak humans?" "Captain Zrek of the Morgler Empire," Vraxthar said. "These humans are under our protection." Susan looked at him in surprise. The green alien laughed. "Protection? Your one ship. Against our 3? Surrender now and we may let you live as slaves." Susan stepped forward. "This is Captain Susan Miller of Earth. We have no quarrel with you. We ask you to leave peacefully." "Humans," Zrek sneered. "We've heard of your kind. Soft creatures who waste time with useless animals." The screen went black. Joe looked at his controls with worry. "They're moving to attack position. Our weapons are no match for 3 ships that size." Susan turned to Vraxthar. "Commander, I suggest we work together." Vraxthar clicked his mandibles rapidly. "Yes, I will return to my ship. We will protect the Intrepid." He looked at Greg and Buddy. "Keep your beast safe, human. I would speak more with you when this is done." As the aliens hurried back to their shuttle, Buddy barked once. It was a friendly sound in the middle of danger. Greg looked at Susan. "Did an alien just offer to protect us because of a dog?" Susan shook her head in wonder. "I think that's exactly what happened. Let's hope their ship is as powerful as it looks." On the screen, the Krazoth ship moved between the Intrepid and the approaching Morgler vessels. The battle was about to begin. The bridge of the Intrepid was quiet except for the soft beep of computers. Everyone watched the main screen as the Krazoth ship moved to protect them. The massive black vessel looked like a shield between the human ship and the 3 green Morgler attackers. "What can we do to help?" Susan asked Joe. The security chief checked his readings. "Not much. Our weapons are too small to hurt those Morgler ships. Best we can do is stay ready to run if things go bad." Alan listened to the communications between the alien ships. "The Morgler are demanding that the Krazoth hand us over. They're saying humans are unworthy of protection." "And what are the Krazoth saying back?" Kate asked. Alan smiled a little. "They're telling the Morgler to leave or be destroyed. Vraxthar is saying that humans have—" "Wait, this can't be right." "What?" Susan pressed.
"He's saying humans have tamed the untamable and befriended the wild universe itself, and that makes us worthy allies." Alan shook his head. "I think he's talking about dogs." Greg laughed softly. He was sitting in a corner of the bridge with
Buddy at his feet. All this because of golden retrievers? Wait until they learn about cats? The first shots were fired. Green beams of light shot from the Morgler ships toward the Krazoth vessel. The black ship absorbed the hits without visible damage. Then it fired back. Red energy pulses hit one of the green ships. That ship's lights flickered. The Krazoth weapons are stronger, Joe said with approval. The fight continued. The Krazoth ship moved smoothly, always keeping itself between the Intrepid and the attackers. But the three Morgler ships worked together well. They spread out, trying to get around the Krazoth vessel to reach the human ship. They're trying to flank the Krazoth, Susan said. Joe, be ready to move us if they break through. Suddenly, one of the Morgler ships changed direction. It flew straight at the Intrepid, moving fast. Evasive action, Susan ordered. The Intrepid turned sharply, but the Morgler ship adjusted its course to follow. It was going to hit them. Then two red energy pulses struck the attacking ship. It spun out of control, missing the Intrepid by a small distance. The Krazoth had saved them, but now the Krazoth ship was in a bad position. The other two Morgler vessels fired at it from different directions. The black hull absorbed most hits, but some got through. The Krazoth ship began to move slower. They're being hurt because they protected us, Kate said quietly. The communication system beeped. Braxthar's face appeared, his ship's bridge dark behind him except for flashing red lights. Captain Miller, he said, our defenses are failing. We cannot hold all three Morgler ships much longer. Susan stepped closer to the screen. Tell us how to help. Braxthar's mandibles clicked rapidly. There is a way. Do you have more beasts on your ship? More dogs? Susan looked at Greg. He shook his head. Just Buddy. Then we need a different plan, Braxthar said. The Morgler fear what they do not understand. They attack us because they believe we have become weak by associating with humans. We must show them they are wrong. How? Susan asked. Bring your dog handler and his beast to our ship. Quickly. We will show the Morgler what a human Krazoth alliance can do. The screen went dark. Susan turned to Greg. It's your choice. It could be dangerous. Greg looked down at Buddy. The dog looked back at him with trusting eyes. We'll go. Buddy was trained for stressful situations. And if it can help stop this, fight. 10 minutes later, Greg and Buddy were in a shuttle heading toward the Krazoth ship. Joe went with them for protection. The small shuttle dodged energy beams as it flew across the space between the ships. Inside the Krazoth vessel, things were chaotic. Warriors ran through the dark hallways. Some were injured. Smoke filled some passages. Braxthar met them in a large room that seemed to be a control center. Many Krazoth worked at strange-looking computers. The Morgler have asked for a visual communication, Braxthar explained. They want to see us beg for mercy before they destroy us. Instead, we will show them something unexpected. He pointed to a spot in the middle of the room. Stand there with your beast. When I give the signal, show them what your dog can do. Greg was confused. What do you want him to do? Buddy's not a fighting dog. Braxthar's eyes seemed to smile, though his face couldn't. That is exactly the point. Show them what we have learned. That true strength comes in many forms. A large screen lit up at the front of the room. The green, four-eyed face of Captain Zrek appeared. The Morgler looked confident. Braxthar, Zrek said. Ready to surrender? Your ship is damaged. You cannot win. We will not surrender, Braxthar replied. We have found new allies. Allies with powers you cannot imagine. Zrek laughed. The humans? They are nothing. Are they? Braxthar stepped aside, revealing Greg and Buddy. Humans have learned secrets of the universe you have not begun to understand. They have made peace with the wild. They have turned enemies into friends through patience and kindness. What nonsense is this? Zrek demanded. Braxthar looked at Greg and nodded. This was the signal. Greg wasn't sure what to do. He looked down at Buddy, then had an idea. He gave the hand signal for Buddy's therapy work. Buddy walked forward, looking at the screen. His tail wagged slowly. He sat down and lifted his paw toward the image of the Morgler captain. What is it doing? Zrek asked. He sounded uncertain for the first time. Offering friendship, Greg said. Even to those who come as enemies. This is the power humans have learned. We don't need to fight to be strong. The Morglar captain stared at the dog with his 4 eyes, but he kept his paw raised, head tilted slightly to one side. Impossible, Zrek whispered. The stories said these creatures were monsters. The stories were wrong, Vraxthar said. Or perhaps incomplete. These animals, these dogs, can be fierce protectors. But their true power is in how they choose not to fight when peace is possible. The screen went dark suddenly. The Krazoth at the computers clicked excitedly. The Morglar ships are pulling back, one reported. They're not firing anymore. Vraxthar turned to Greg. Your beast has done what our weapons could not. Greg bent down to pet Buddy. He just did what he always does, offered friendship. Perhaps, Vraxthar said, that is the lesson we needed to learn. The Morglar too. There is strength in weapons, yes, but there is greater strength in turning enemies to friends. The communication system beeped again. Captain Zrek's face returned to the screen. He looked less angry now, more curious. We will withdraw for now, the Morglar captain said. But this matter is not finished. I wish to learn more about these dogs and the humans who command them. Perhaps there are things the Morglar could learn as well. After the screen went dark again, Vraxthar put one of his 4-fingered hands on Greg's shoulder. It seems your small beast has started something big among the stars. Greg smiled. He watched as a Krazoth warrior knelt down to carefully pet Buddy, copying what he had seen humans do. Not bad for a therapy dog, Greg said. Not bad at all. 2 weeks passed since the battle with the Morglar. The Intrepid stayed near Earth while repairs were made to both it and the Krazoth ship. Earth leaders came to meet with Vraxthar and learn about these new aliens. Scientists and diplomats worked day and night to build relationships between humans and Krazoth. But the most interesting meetings happened in the park-like area of the Intrepid, where Greg often took Buddy for exercise. Captain Susan walked into this area one morning to find an unusual sight. Vraxthar sat on the grass with 3 other Krazoth warriors. Buddy moved from one alien to another, letting them pet him. The aliens were careful with their touch, their hard fingers gently stroking the dog's golden fur. I never thought I'd see this, Susan said to Greg, who stood nearby watching. Greg smiled. Me neither. Vraxthar has visited every day this week. He says touching Buddy helps him think better. Susan nodded. The scientists are calling it the therapy effect. It seems to work on aliens just like it does on humans. Vraxthar noticed them and stood up. He moved differently now around humans, less stiff and formal. Captain Miller, he said. Good news. My leaders have approved the alliance between our peoples. That's wonderful, Susan replied. Earth leaders say the same. Vraxthar's mandibles clicked in what they now recognized as a Krazoth smile. And there is more. The Morglar have requested a meeting, not for war but for talk. They wish to see more of these therapy dogs. Greg wasn't surprised. Captain Zrek had sent several messages asking about dogs since the battle. The Morglar seemed both afraid of and fascinated by Earth's canine companions. When will they arrive? Susan asked. Tomorrow, Vraxthar said. We must prepare. I have an idea, but I need your help, Dr. Peters. Later that day, Greg found himself in a strange meeting. He sat with Susan, Vraxthar, and several human and Krazoth leaders. Buddy lay at his feet, sleeping. The Morglar are afraid of appearing weak, Vraxthar explained. They will not admit they want to learn about therapy dogs. They claim they come to evaluate our alliance for possible threats. So what's your idea? Susan asked. Vraxthar's 6 eyes gleamed. We show them the true power of the human-dog bond, but we do it carefully. No weapons, no threats. Just the quiet strength that comes from friendship. Greg understood. You want to use therapy dogs the way they're meant to be used, to build connection. Exactly, Vraxthar said. Can you bring more dogs to the meeting? Greg made some calls to Earth. By the next morning, 5 therapy dogs and their handlers had joined Buddy on the Intrepid. There was Sam, a black Labrador, Rosie, a fluffy white Samoyed, Max, a gentle German Shepherd, Daisy, a spotted Dalmatian, and Cooper, a small brown Cocker Spaniel. The dogs and handlers waited in the main meeting room. Vraxthar had his warriors remove all weapons from the room. Instead, they placed soft cushions on the floor and brought plants from Earth to make the space feel calm. When the Morglar ship arrived, everyone felt nervous. The green aliens had almost destroyed them 2 weeks ago. Could dogs really change that? Captain Zrek entered the room with 6 other Morglar. They moved like cats, careful and ready to jump. Their 4 eyes darted around looking for traps. When they saw the dogs, they stopped. "What is this?" Zrek demanded. Susan stepped forward. "A proper introduction to Earth's therapy animals. Last time was rushed. Today we have time to show you what these dogs truly do." Zrek looked suspicious. "This is a trick." Vraxthar shook his head. "No tricks. The humans showed me something important. I wish to share it with you." For a moment, no one moved. Then Greg gave a hand signal to Buddy. The golden retriever walked slowly toward the Morglar captain. He stopped a few feet away, sat down, and raised his paw. Zrek stared at the dog. "This gesture again? What does it mean?" "It's an offer of friendship," Greg explained. "Dogs do this naturally. They don't care if you're human, Krazoth, or Morglar. They offer connection to anyone willing to accept it." One of the other Morglar stepped forward. This one was smaller, perhaps younger. "May I?" he asked his captain. Zrek hesitated, then nodded. The young Morglar knelt down and carefully took Buddy's paw in his 3-fingered hand. Buddy wagged his tail. "It's warm," the young alien said, with surprise. The other handlers brought their dogs forward. Soon each Morglar was interacting with a dog. Some petted them carefully, others just watched. The room grew quiet except for the soft sound of wagging tails hitting the floor. Greg noticed something remarkable. The Morglar's skin, which had been a dark green when they entered, slowly changed to a lighter, softer shade. He later learned this was a sign of relaxation in their species. After some time, Captain Zrek spoke. His voice was different now, less harsh. "These creatures, they feel no fear of us?" "They sense your intentions," Greg said. "Right now you're not threatening, so they're comfortable with you." Zrek reached out slowly and touched Buddy's head. "On our world, all animals run from us or fight us. We have never known this trust." Vraxthar stepped closer. "That is what I wished you to see. Humans are not weak because they value connection. They are strong in a way we did not understand before." For 3 hours, the aliens and dogs got to know each other. The handlers showed how the dogs helped humans who were sad or scared. They demonstrated simple commands and explained how dogs could sense human feelings. As the meeting ended, Captain Zrek made a surprising request. "Would it be possible? Could our people learn to work with these dogs as well?" Susan looked at Greg, who nodded. "We could start a training program," she suggested. "Cultural exchange through canine ambassadors." Zrek's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "The Morglar Council will want to hear more." After the Morglar left, Vraxthar put his hand on Greg's shoulder. "This is just the beginning. Your dogs have started something that could change relations between all our species." 1 month later, the first interstellar canine training center opened on Earth. Aliens from both the Krazoth and Morglar empires came to learn about dogs. Some even brought their own animals, hoping to develop similar bonds. Greg was put in charge of the program. One evening, as he watched Buddy playing with a young Krazoth who had been afraid of dogs just days before, Captain Susan joined him. "How does it feel to have changed the course of interstellar relations?" she asked. Greg laughed. "I didn't do anything. Buddy did all the work." Susan smiled. "Remember what Vraxthar said that first day? Unleash the beast." He expected something terrible, and got a golden retriever instead, Greg finished. Across the training field, Vraxthar was teaching a Morglar officer how to throw a ball for Max the German Shepherd. The former enemies worked together now, united by their new understanding of Earth's most ancient companions. Turns out, Susan said softly, peace doesn't always come through big speeches or complicated treaties. Greg nodded as he watched Buddy return to his side, tail wagging. Sometimes it comes with 4 paws, a wet nose, and a wagging tail. Buddy looked up at them, seeming to smile in the way that only dogs can. If he understood his role in bringing together 3 different species from across the stars, he didn't show it. He just wanted his ears scratched and perhaps a treat for being a good boy. And in the end, that simple goodness was exactly what the universe needed.